back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and Disembodied Hands, Quindy. We, of course, are also excited to have you here, and somewhere far off in the distance, there may be a John, and he may be excited as well. Or maybe not. Maybe John's not excited to be here. I don't know. I haven't talked to him in ages, which is why he's a tiny speck far off in the distance. Justin, meanwhile, he's dropped off the planet entirely. You went back and replayed the pup dates, but I was going to show the pup dates again, Pendrake. Yes, Justin is off the planet entirely because fathering, being a new dad is so hard. So hard. Yeah, no, I feel the sleep debt because, like, pretty soon I'm going to have a baby puppy and I'm going to be in Justin's boat. Far off in the distance. The dinghy. Justin's dinghy. That's right. I assigned him a dinghy, didn't I? Dinghy Justin. When he comes back, he's going to be like, what have you been doing? Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. Yay. Okay, so I think I'll queue up a pup date, but I won't do it till later in the stream because then people who are late want to see the pup date and then it disrupts the stream. So I'm going to go look up the pup date. Alrighty. Pup date, looking for the pup date. And then I'll queue it up on my phone and then we can show to pupper pictures. Oh, there they are. Yay, pupper pictures. There we go. Now I've got all queued up on my phone. And, hi Nomad Zeke, thank you. 35 months, almost to your triple sub-anniversary. One of them arrived and, oh, the ships, 5.5 ships. One of them arrived and one's still pending, yeah. Well, yeah, I'm going to show them again anyway, because some people didn't go back to watch the stream. But my point was you didn't have to, Pendrake. If I don't have new pup dates, I'm always happy to show, the last pup date I got. And now is when the real work starts with the puppies. So Bridget's going to have less time for pictures. Ah, there we go. Thanks, Quindy, for that post. What is actually here and what is not here yet. Sweet. All right, so we're on our elf wizard. And today I think I want to play with alchemical symbols while I talk to y'all about an idea I have. I'll probably I might do a poll on it on my Patreon, actually. I'm trying to figure out, you know how I like all those personality test things. So I'm trying to figure out if there are different types of painters. So I'm starting to kind of think about how I'd ask these questions just because to me it's interesting, right? Also, it might help if we do figure out if you do figure out a strength or something that, you know, or a way that you tend to function, it can be helpful to you if you ever seek coaching. Oh, that makes sense, Pendrake. But yeah, so there we go. We are nice and in focus. I'm going to look up my alchemical symbols. I'm just going to do a lot of them. Alchemical symbols. Ah. And there's some good ones. Yeah. Something like potassium carbonate. Who knows what that might be useful for in a wizard spell, but you know, it might be fun. These are fun. Gold is pretty. Let's use gold. Phosphorus is neat too. I see phosphorus used a lot as a rune, quote unquote. Sulfur's neat too. These are cool. Yeah, let's use some of this. Ooh, platinum is cool. Like sun and moon together. That's really neat. I've seen antimony before. Not that kind of thing. What I'm more interested in, Pendrake, is the process. The painter process. So are you a social painter? Do you find it very hard to paint if you don't have somebody else to paint with you? Or are you more productive when you're alone and you can concentrate? Things like that. That's kind of what I'm looking at. That and some people really thrive on spontaneity. Like, they'll have a whole selection of miniatures in front of them that they could work on, and they want to pick the one that they feel like working on the most, and that's how they're most productive. But other people need to like have like the one miniature that they're focusing on, and that's how they're most productive. And then there are people like me that are somewhere in the middle where I've got 3. If I get more than 3, I'm going to feel overwhelmed. But if I have less than 3, I feel like I don't have enough options. So it's like all on that. Oh no, Crowley. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry you had the plague. I hope you recover quickly. It is very, very annoying. I'm very sorry you're in that boat. You need to have people around to keep you from wandering off, Nomad Zeke. So maybe you aren't a very focus-oriented person, but you're very social, and social painting is like rewarding to you. Like, is it something that actually empowers you though? Like that's the core. Like, I think when we try to like figure out what type of X or Y we are, or what our best process is, a lot of times we think about our weaknesses. Like, oh, I'm a flibberty gibbet, I have to have people around, or I lose attention span, or stuff like that. But ask yourself really, are you actually more productive with people? Like, is having people around like something that motivates you to paint, right? And if so, then yeah, maybe you're a social painter. Maybe that's something that if you really want to paint more, you should think about arranging a paint club or a paint night or paint something. Or you should think about maybe if you can go to your local game store and paint. Yeah, Kodiak, you're a social painter. Yep. I'm day 3. Ugh, day 3 is hard. Yeah, I hope you feel better, Crowley. I'm sorry. So you're maybe goal motivated then, War Shadows. Let's actually make a list. I'm interested to see. So is that when you're most is that what makes you most productive? Like, so we've got a socially motivated. And we're just looking at what helps you be productive as a painter. So socially motivated, goal motivated, like campaign, parentheses, campaign or game. And also ask yourself with that goal motivated thing, ask yourself though if it's just that you have a deadline and you're feeling stressed but you get it done, or if you actually like feel better, like you feel more motivated and you feel more, you know, just happy about working on stuff for your game. Like that's a different thing, right? Because I would say that I can produce a lot under a deadline, but I don't enjoy it. It's actually not my optimal state. Even though I might think I'm most productive under a deadline, in reality, I'm not. I'm just reacting to the pressure, and the pressure is actually making me unhappy. Yeah, I was gonna actually make a poll on my Patreon, Kodiak, but I wanted to like, cause you guys, I like the Twitch stream because it's really freeform, so I kind of wanted to like toss some ideas around, and these are different, yeah, productivity is what I'm first looking at, I think. Okay, so deadline for sure, but you're adding more than what's needed, and you're still enjoying the process, War Shadow? No, I'm going to do the pup date later, Roger. You're okay. I decided to do it a little later in the stream, kind of take a break like a little way through because people were missing it. Yeah, so cool. So you're definitely, probably, you enjoy having a goal and it helps you maybe focus. That's really cool, War Shadow. Clavicus is a financial, so it's a job. Financial job. Then, and that's a hard one too, because that makes it very hard to balance your happiness level with your hobby, because sometimes that can assign too much stress to the process. This happens in a lot of different crafts that turn into, not even crafts, I bet, but things that people enjoy, but then they turn it into a job and they no longer enjoy it because it adds a level of pressure, right? So it depends. You like painting with people, but none of your friends are painters, so now you paint alone. So, okay, so let's segue. Let me get my white mixed up because I don't want to totally distract everybody from this, even though I was thinking about it a lot this morning. Music went from a hobby to teaching music lessons. Mm-hmm. Ah, motivated by accomplishment. Accomplishment motivated. And that's different from goal oriented. That's a good one. That's a good one, Agent Marble. Yeah, I am. I'm going to be putting freehand on the cloak today, Roger. I need to mix up my white because we're going to put some alchemical symbols on there. So we're looking at a lot of alchemical symbols, which are really cool. I like magnesium too. Actually, these are all really awesome. And they're also a good way you can look at like using simple symbols and just kind of breaking them up with other symbols or adding other symbols to them to create runes. It's we might even take some of these and change them. Spontaneity. The mood has to, well, yeah, that's a thing and that's difficult, like Beguiler, because yeah, so a lot of people like, or I wouldn't say a lot of people, but many people are like that, right? They've got to like they're most productive when they can just be spontaneous. But some people also suffer from procrastination because they think they have to be in the mood to paint, and that's not actually the case. So always look at yourself and see, like, not for you because it seems like you've got yourself pretty figured out. But other people, I know that I ran into this too. I felt like I had to be in the mood to paint, and then I realized I didn't. I just needed to establish a painting habit, and then I was always in the mood to paint. No, I don't, they don't actually spell a word. They're all just symbols for a particular thing, but I'm going to use them as magical runes, Warshadow. Looking up stuff like this is really good to just use for magical runes. You could go so far as to say that maybe the lead one is for, like, hold person. Because it's heavy, right? It holds you down. You know, but I'm not trying to... I mean, if you want to spell a word, then the runes you're looking at are Norse, probably, because those are associated with letters. But a lot of people do the Norse, and I'm like, I'm kind of sick of the Norse. I wanted to do something a little more elaborate on her. So that's why I'm going with alchemical symbols instead, because they are pretty elaborate especially for a 28 millimeter. Yeah, it's what I'm asking about is like your absolute optimal spontaneity, because I know that people are that they're definitely there was a paint clubber I had who was definitely a spontaneity painter. She did make herself come to paint club every week, but once there she would spread out a lot of different projects, like 20. And she would go with whatever she felt like, Beguiler. So that might be also something you could try. Right, exactly. That, Roger, you've nailed it on the nose. I think that's very much a thing where you think you're not in the mood, but it's really that you just haven't touched base with your project. Your project's not in the front of your mind, or painting isn't in the front of your mind. And once you actually sit down in the chair, suddenly you're in the mood to paint. Like, that happens a lot. That's very common. And actually, we talk about that a lot as writers, where a lot of people feel like they can't write unless they're in the zone, right? And the muse is calling. But actually, if you really want to write a book, it's about getting your butt in the chair every day and doing a little bit. And then you essentially train your muse to come to you when you sit in the chair and open your document. Yeah, so you definitely are a spontaneity painter, Beguiler. So that's cool. That's a very different, like, mindset for it, right? So what do you find most rewarding about the hobby, Beguiler? Like, if you had to pick a thing, like what do you really love about painting? I'm just mixing up a 2-to-1 solution of pure white and water. Paint to water, 2-to-1. Yeah, that makes sense, Kerniko. So you're always hobbying, and you're always preparing for when you feel like it. Yeah, and that's I mean, that's utter cool. You like seeing the mini come to life? Yeah. How about you, Beguiler? Like, since you have so many projects and you like to paint spontaneously, like, once you're painting, what's the thing that really keeps you going, like, that you really enjoy? I'm going to mix up my white here. Now I kind of have an idea on this one, guys. Yep, clavicus on the nose. I feel that way too. Often that's the way with me. I don't feel like it, and then I sit down and paint, and I like sit there for like an hour and work on a project, and I'm really happy about it. A lot of times, well, there's a thing that's like resistance, right? And it comes in every creative endeavor, from baking to writing to painting. But it's just, you want to do the thing, but there's like something holding you back, and maybe you decide, oh, maybe it's just not a good time right now. Or you get distracted by something, like people who get eternally distracted when they really want to get on a project because it's important to them, but somehow they manage to just open Facebook and lose 2 hours. Like, that is a thing. And Stephen Pressfield calls that resistance with a capital R. It kind of personifies the force. But I recently learned a really cool, like, kind of life hack about that. And essentially, the point is to make it as easy for yourself to do the task as possible. So what one of the people I watch on YouTube calls that lowering the threshold. I found that this works for me with cooking, because I love to cook, but cooking is also a lot of work, especially after the full day of like writing and painting and like planning. So I found that if I lower the threshold to make it easier for myself to cook, I'm more likely to cook something I really want to cook instead of just something easy. So like today, I want to do fish curry tonight. I got some red snapper that looked amazing yesterday at the store. I want to do fish curry. But fish curry has a lot of prep to it. A lot of prep. A lot of spices, a lot of chopping, a lot of everything. So what I've done is leave my cookbook out on the counter, and over lunch, I'm going to put together all the spices I need in little cups so that they're all ready. And that's going to essentially lower the threshold of cooking that curry, because it's going to make it a lot easier. And it's also a small task that is easy in itself and kind of fun, you know, getting together your cinnamon and your cloves and your everything. So like, that's a trick for you. And I have to go back and look at Beguiler's response, but that's a trick for you. If you find that you want to paint, but somehow you always get distracted, or you feel kind of resistance to it, try like putting together the things you will need to paint the next step on your mini or whatever, or just setting up your area. And that'll make it easier for you. And then you may find that you're more likely to sit down and paint. I'm going to do another PDF on this, because I did that Why Aren't You Painting PDF, and then Rhonda did the awesome You Don't Have to Improve PDF. And I think that talking more about this kind of thing with painting is important, so you don't feel alone, and so maybe you have some hacks that you can use to help yourself. Beguiler, it varies. Yeah. Okay. So apart from that, though, Beguiler, it seems like you're excited by the idea. Other than the compulsion day where it was just like, skin! You know, obviously that's the exception rather than the rule, right? But it sounds then that, because if the mini says, paint me like this, you're getting an idea, a concept for that character that powers you through. Or it's a cool idea that you just want to try something new. And that's a lot like me. I like to kind of look at the figure and get an idea for the personality of that figure, or an idea for a color I want to use, and then that excites me, and I go from there. So all the moods there. Oh yeah, the Night Haunt. So maybe you need to like switch them up a little bit, Kerniko. Is the Night Haunt one all the spirity guys from Games Workshop? Is that army? I love those models, and I keep like looking at them. Carrie Michael, my optimal is working on projects by yourself. What you feel like when you feel like it. Goals can be frustrating. Yep. Favorite part is playing with the toys when they are complete. I do enjoy painting with friends, but it's draining. Yeah, so it sounds like very much more for like focus for you, Carrie. That's interesting. So solo painter, let's just put it. Solo focus painter, I'm going to say. Somebody who likes to focus on what they want to do, and somebody who likes to paint solo because introvert, right? Completion is the reward. So that's kind of accomplishment motivated too, but in a different way. Oh, cook! Actually, David and I have a trade-off, Roger. David, whichever one of us cooks, the other one cleans up, and I love this. I love this deal. It's awesome. I love it that he suggested this. So, and he's the one who usually is cleaning. Process. Okay, so Zen. That's the Zen zone. The process. The Zen process. Zen process painter. You like the journey. You like the journey, Allison. That's really awesome. It's about the journey, not the end. Interesting. Yeah, see, so isn't this cool, guys? Because you're really seeing like a whole bunch, like nobody's the same, right? We all like, some people have some things in common, but everybody like comes to the hobby from a different direction with a different motivation and a different happy place, you know? It's the ghosts. Oh, you do them flame colored. That's pretty cool, Cornico. Yeah, I really like those ghosts. I keep wanting one. I keep wanting to pick one of the characters up. I think they're really awesome. Always on cleanup duty. You're a terrible cook, Cornico. Hey, Rainbow. Awesome. That's fantastic. We were actually, Rainbow, you're in a perfect place because we were just talking about what motivates people to paint, like what your happy place is in the hobby. Like whether you are a social painter or whether you're much more productive when you work alone, or whether you like have to work on a bunch of things or you have to focus on one thing, whether you do it for the sense of accomplishment when you finish, or whether you're more of a journey painter where you just like the process. What do you think you are? So are you a social painter then? It sounds like you might be a social painter. Are you happiest when you're painting with people? Are you happier when you're painting alone? When are you more productive, Rainbow? Masara, thank you for the resub 29 months. Okay, so we're going to stop chatting. And honestly, I'm going to get some paint on here. So while I wait for... Oh, funny. That sounds awesome, Allison. I love Skaven. All right, so we're going to put some of these alchemical symbols on here. I kind of had an idea, though, because a lot of these use, like, diagonal lines and stuff, guys, and circles. I was almost thinking about surrounding each symbol with a circle and linking them together with lines to make kind of a cool structured grid. Yeah. Maybe I'll have to. I don't know. The problem is so many Age of Sigmar models are awesome. Well, Pendrick, it's not about that, because that's like you're like kind of picking out the things that like are what you think are like, I don't know. I mean, what I want is not so much like lazy painter, like what makes you happiest when painting, Pendrick? That's not really the like, does it make you happy to be lazy or sloppy? It doesn't sound like it. So what is it that motivates you? Like, do you like to put colors on the mini? Do you like to finish a mini? Do you like to start a mini? Do you like what's your hobby motivator? Like, what do you really love about miniature painting? That's what we're getting at. So being lazy, sloppy, or hurried, or speedy, not really what I'm looking for. What gives you pleasure in the hobby? And actually, I'm going to add another drop of white to this. And then we're going to put circles around these little guys. And then we're going to create little stems going off where we can do new symbols. And I think I might make them, I was originally going to make them all very similar, but I might make some of them bigger and some of them smaller now. Like as far as the symbols go. All right. And I might not do as many as I originally thought also. I was originally thinking I was going to do like 2 here and 2 there and 2 and 4 and 2. And I don't know if I'm going to do that now. I think I want to do varying sizes instead to kind of break it up. All over the board. Oh, okay. So that's awesome. If you were productive and happy, then maybe you are very much a socially motivated painter, Rainbow. That's awesome. Hey, you can use that, right? So then you know, like, if you really want to get some models done for a game or something, you should schedule a painting night or a painting day, right? So that's cool. That's information you can use, right? I love that. All right, so I am going to do, uh-oh. Wait, a message from Bridget? Oh, wait. Maybe it's just a... Uh-oh. Hey, guys, is it ready for the pup date? We have not gotten any painting done today because we've been talking about painting process instead, which I love. However, we appear to have a movie to watch. Hold on. Oh, they're eating. Oh, it's puppy's first food. Okay, are we ready for the cute? Ooh, everybody likes their venison. Oh, they're at it. Look at that focus. Look at that focus. Like, anybody who tells you a baby puppy can't focus has never tried to give a baby puppy food. Oh, the paw in the dish. She's like holding it down so she can get it. Oh, okay, boys. So that was actually Scanlan. Did you guys catch that? Neater, messier. Girls, boys. There you go. So the, there. I had to send Bridget a thank you. So they've been eating solid food for a couple days. And they start out, there was a lot of goat's milk in that pan, but they lapped that up first and then they got down to the venison puddles. Food. Yep, it's food. Yeah, so there you go, guys. You got to watch it with me. All right, so circles. The problem is putting circles around these is gonna be such a pain in the butt. So maybe I'll do my symbols first. Oh, the meat is also venison. She had a friend bring over some ground venison. There we go. Awesome. All right, so alchemical symbols. I'm going to start with phosphorus because I really like it, and also because phosphorus can burn. So that's a good thing for spells. So we want a triangle with a stem. And that's a good one because it's very vertical. So what we want to do here, guys, is as we're planning where to put these symbols, we want to put over here on the very narrow section where the cape's kind of scrunched, we want to go for a vertical symbol like bismuth or mercury or phosphorus. Whereas when we have a wider space here, then we could go for something like copper or magnesium, where these are very wide, comparatively speaking. Silver is nice because you could vary it, but technically it is a little bit of a wider one. So essentially that's where you want to go. You want to go more narrow when you've got very little room, and where you've got a lot of wide room, you want to go. I definitely want to use gold. So let's actually, I'm going to do that. I'm going to put down which ones of these I want to use. So I've got 2 small spaces and two vertical spaces. I've got like 4 panels down here. So I do have 6. So I think I want to do phosphorus. I'm going to just go do a quick sketch of the symbols I want to use. I want to use magnesium for sure. I like that big curvy D with the cross coming out of it. That's really neat. I want to use gold for sure. So these are the symbols that I'm looking to use. So I like the gold. I like the circle with the dot and the curly cues and the arrow. That's really cool. Like that. That's really neat. Now, another thing we can do here, guys, is we can absolutely change these. So let's look at, I like Mercury. Mercury is pretty vertical. So cross with a little crown and arrows at the end of these. So we've got 4. I need 2 more. I do like the arsenic one. It's got the upside down triangle with the feet. That one's kind of cool, right? And then let's see. I need another. No, I've got two skinny ones, so I'm good. Because I think every other panel is pretty wide. So we'll use those skinny ones on the top. And then I want one more that's kind of different. Copper is a little bit confusing. But if I do copper, but I give it feet. So this is how you can do this, guys. So here we've got copper. And it's kind of confusing. But it's kind of cool looking. So instead I'm going to change it. So instead of putting those two little bars across it, I'm going to start with that X, then the line through them. And then I'm going to actually add feet. Like the arsenic has, to make it look a little more interesting. And I'll get my diamond arrows on here. And then maybe we put a dot up there. So you can use these as springboards to get a more interesting fictional, but I mean, she's a fantasy mage, right? Oh yeah, I mean, whenever you see the, I mean, 20 million people have used the alchemical symbols, including major companies and you know, IP people. Like, yeah, I mean, it's just a thing. They're a great place to go for runes, and people have done it. I'm just deciding to do it because I haven't done it ever. I haven't painted these on anything. So. So yeah, so I think these are good. And we can also mix up a lot of the rest of these. Like maybe I decide to do like fins on the end of this D. Maybe I even put an extra line in there, right? So you can, and here I could maybe continue the line into here and make this larger. Like I can switch things up, right? So these are my 6. This is what we'll do. Pendrake, you don't get off the hook though. Why do you like painting? What is the thing when are you feeling most rewarded by your hobby? That's what I want. It's like, it's the motivation. What is the cookie? What is the cookie that is fed to your psyche when you paint that keeps you doing the hobby? Alrighty, so I think I'm gonna do the little, this one first. We'll do the pointy one. This end up. We'll do this one first. And then over on the other side here, oh, but maybe not. Maybe not, because now that I look at it, I've got a circle over here already because I've got a sun. And that means that I would be putting this next to the sun, and probably it's better if I put the pointy one over here. So, all right. So we'll do this one first, which I think is Mercury. Also, I can choose to fill in or not fill in. Like I'm going to go back and actually take the blue and fill in this white circle so that it's actually a round circle as well. So we want to start with basic shapes when you're doing this. And a basic shape here is a circle and a line. So a lollipop. All you need to do is draw a lollipop to start this. You do remember to leave a little space on top of your lollipop if you want to put the little crown up there. But if you don't, you know what? You could just put that line through the middle here and it would look pretty cool. Maybe that's what I'll do. So let's do our lollipop. And I usually do the lollipop solid. I don't try to draw a circle. I just do a dot, a filled in dot. Because I can always take my purple and come back and fill in that dot with a smaller dot, then magically getting a circle. So I start pretty small, and you don't need to make a perfect circle because this is on top of a fold. So the fold is going to make it look kind of wonky anyway. Like it's going to look fine as long as it's round. Well, if you are motivated by finishing something, but it's been a while since you painted, that makes sense, because then since you haven't finished anything for a while, you're not motivated to paint because you aren't getting the reward, right? Like that's the problem with like that can be the kind of the hiccup in that particular like accomplishment motivated stuff, right? Is if you don't sit down and do it, then you don't get the accomplishment, and maybe you're just attracted to things that take less time. Stuff like that. That would fit also with you wanting to be speedier, right? Because if you're rewarded by finishing things, then you just want to finish them. So that makes sense then that you consider yourself like a sloppy painter, but you shouldn't like consider that a fault, because like that's why you like the hobby. You like to sit down, bust out a mini, and get that sense of accomplishment that you finished a mini. Like, then just do it. Don't like let other people's expectations screw you up. Like, just go for it. If that's what your reward is, then don't let anybody judge you, and especially not you, judge you on being sloppy. Sloppy doesn't matter at that point. What matters is finishing a mini. And that is valid. Absolutely valid. Or maybe just go for simpler minis, Pendrake. Get some simple, big, blocky minis that are very fast. You could also do minis, like go to find techniques that are faster, like using a heavy wash, like doing zenith priming with heavy wash and then just a highlight or something like that. Like there are methods you could use. So I'm going to tilt this symbol because the cloak is kind of flaring out. I am going to make it not straight up and down. It's going to follow this fold, but not, maybe not quite so much. There we go. It's a little better. My lollipop is in place. So the other parts of the lollipop are a little crown and little arms. And we also need to put little arrows at the end of everything. But that's fine. We can get there. So the next part I'm going to do then is going to be the next two lines. So the cross, which you want to be about halfway down, and the little crescent on top of the head. You know, and it's funny because I don't want a Disney brush. Like, because getting things done, like, isn't so much my motivation. I'm very much a process painter. I like to complete little bits of the model, but the reward I get is, like, seeing it come together. So I guess I am kind of, maybe I'm accomplishment motivated in a way, because I do that because I want to feel that sense of accomplishment finishing a little part of the mini. Maybe that's just how I managed to cope, because I'm such a slow painter. But I like accomplishment. And so I had to, like, essentially take a step back and become, get that sense of accomplishment from just finishing a small part. And being able to look at that part and be happy with it. So that just proves you can life hack your way out of any mindset. Yeah, that's true. That's another thing you could do, is work on a big project, but then finish up with a super speed paint mini. If you still have the energy, like at that point you have to look at your energy pennies, right? Your spoons. We all have a different amount of energy we bring to the day. So putting little arrows on there. They're a little lopsided, so I'm going to have to fill this one out a little more. There. And of course, having a brush with a good tip is a good idea on this. My paint is a little thicker than I was going to make it at first. I think I am going to drop one more drop of water into it, just with my brush. I want it just a little, it's having a little bit of trouble making the little tiny details like those arrows. So usually that means a little bit more paint. A little bit more water, sorry. So yeah, that's another thing we have to look at, right? Is the amount of energy we bring to the hobby. How many spoons do we have left? How tired are we when we start? You know, do we paint better when we're kind of tired at the end of the night? Or do we paint better when we're fresh? For me, I can paint like pretty much like up to a certain point, and then I'm just too tired. So we had more of a V there. It didn't really come out as a little crescent, so we can reshape it a little. And we'll come back with our purple, and we'll pop a little, we'll pop a blob of it in the middle of this round, and that will bring our, give us some open space. Same with over here, we'll bring our blue in and do that. Maybe I'll mix up those colors, although I think I put this this paint over in the other room. Let's see here. Maybe I have some of it here. But yeah, sometimes if you're a very slow painter, but you're also like accomplishment, you can do what I do and try to focus on one part of the mini in the time you have and finish that part of the mini. And see if that feels rewarding to you, or if you can discover a sense of accomplishment out of doing it that way. You do everything better after a nap, yep. Yeah, my power naps. I love my power naps, so I feel that. Yeah. So we all have a too tired point. I can paint, though, right up until, like, 10 p.m. Like, then I'm starting to turn into a pumpkin, and I have to go and just do my stretches before bed. All right, so I'm going to keep this kind of full strength, because this this orchid purple can be very transparent. But I'm just going to blob in a dot in the middle of my greater dot. And this is the easiest way to paint a tiny ring, is to just do a circle, and then just put a blob of your original color inside of the circle. Moonlight, yeah. You should probably sleep. Sleep is so important. Don't ever read books about sleep, because I did, and now I sleep is like my #1 priority in life. Because I'm so terrified of like the bad things that can happen to you if you short yourself on sleep. Don't do it. Don't do it. Circles will never be the same again. Yeah. See, circles are easier than you thought. Just do a blob and then put a dot inside of it and you have a circle. And it's almost a perfect circle too. I mean, it's really close. Especially when it's little, nobody's really going to fault you on it. So Moonlight, we've been talking about, I'm interested in people's motivation for painting and if there are different types of painters. And so we're talking about, we've had a bunch of people. We've had the socially motivated painter that really is most productive when people are around, when they paint in a group. We've had goal-motivated painters who are like painting for a campaign or game, and that's their happy place. Like that is how they're most productive. We had financially motivated. It's your job. but I pointed out that that can make it not be your happy place anymore. Accomplishment motivated painters who are most motivated by finishing a thing, right? The spontaneity painter that really just loves to just grab something and go. And that's the way, that's their happy place. That's how they're most productive. If they can be extremely spontaneous in their choice of project or color or whatever, and their choice of time, then they're the most productive when they do that. Then we got the solo or focused painter, somebody who likes to sit down and really focus all alone. You know, that's their happy place. That's how they're most productive. And then we've got kind of the process painter who gets the most pleasure out of the journey, where finishing the model is just kind of like, well, but it's almost done and we're disappointed. What do you think you are, Moonlight? Do you have a working style, like, and we're looking for like most rewarded, like what rewards you the most? Where are you happiest in the hobby? What's your best process? Like, are you best with structure? Are you best with spontaneity? Like, usually that's, you know what that is, Shadow Raven? It's probably you do have a motivator, but that it may not be an easy motivator for where you are in life. Like Pendrake mentioned, like he's an accomplishment motivated painter, but he also gets frustrated. Like he wants it to go faster. And so if he doesn't finish things, you know, then that's a problem. So it could be that playing with color. So I would say that's a process. Yeah, that's a process painter probably. Where you're enjoying the process, you're enjoying the journey, you're enjoying playing with the colors. And you don't have to be just one of these either, obviously. Like as we're writing this down, I'm betting there are like a couple different classifications on these. Like probably, you know, socially motivated versus solo, you know, and then there's probably goal motivated versus accomplishment versus, you know, process versus spontaneity, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. So that's cool. I think that sometimes the process painters have the most fun because I mean, you can just be happy mucking around. And some of us are like all of these things, but we're that thing on different days, right? There are days definitely where if I've got a lot of energy, I enjoy mucking around. But if it's at the end of the day and tired, then I'm more of like a focused, accomplishment type painter where I just want to get a section done. Yeah. Yeah, less than color. Right, exactly, because it's in kind of like, it's never just one thing. It's usually a lot of things, but you have a primary and then maybe a secondary and a tertiary, right? So... All right, I'm going to keep this purple fresh because I want to be able to adjust other stuff. So I'm going to actually put a little bit more of it into my palette. Well, okay, then Shadow Raven, I have a question for you. What about the idea of painting? What attracts you to the hobby? What is it about the idea of painting? Like, what is your idea of painting? Like, actually just playing with colors? Is it finishing a model? Like, the idea of finishing something that you're proud of? Is it just like having something to kind of get away from real life? Is it hanging out with your friends and painting? Like, which you say the idea of painting, but which idea? Which idea is like your happy place? Yeah, but there's going to be one more than others. Like, if you had to define your ideal painting day, what would it be? Like, your ideal painting situation. The one that makes you happiest. No cop-outs here, Shadow Raven. Come on. If you don't want to answer, you don't have to. I'm just trying to get like to if I've forgotten any of these. Like if there's something out there that I haven't written down, which I'm sure is true. All right, so we've got a little alchemical symbol. I'm going to get out my my ultramarine shadow, which is our blue here, this beautiful blue. Yeah, the reason that I'm asking about this stuff is because, of course, I teach. And as you can see. And lately, I've been very interested in the idea of figuring out, like, my students' like best way to learn, you know? And so quantifying kind of these different motivations and the different way we work is valuable to me, because then maybe when I do tutorials for the Patreon, I can do a couple of different strategies to tailor my instruction, because not everybody's going to learn the same. And I'm wondering if there's like value in that. Like, that's why I'm doing this during this stream. Just to give you guys, I'm not just wasting time. You might look like it. It might look like it, but I'm actually very interested in this from a perspective of my teaching and my Patreon and my coaching and my everything. So yeah, there's my Patreon. It's patreon.com/paintingbig. So yeah, I think that a lot of us, especially when we approach a class, and I was thinking about this even as early as KublaCon earlier this summer. But a lot of people, like, their process is so different. And so I figured if I could kind of nail down kind of the main different processes that are out there, maybe I could help people to be more productive. And also help myself to teach more effectively. Yeah, that's really good, Moonlight. That sounds like a really good physical trainer. See, and I've been doing like kind of the coaching type stuff with my writing, and because it's a creative pursuit, just like the painting, it makes me interested in whether there's cross pollination there that I could use to become a better teacher. So. Yeah, being able to identify why you want to do it and what you want to accomplish. And there is no wrong answer, right? There's no wrong answer there. Like, it's because it's you. And it's just between you and the world. Like, and sometimes I do feel, though, that the spontaneous painters probably shy away from that stuff. Like, the true spontaneous painter who really just wants to just freeform their way through the hobby, and that's the reward they get, like, then maybe for those people, but they usually know who they are, right? They usually don't have to ask their question about, like, identifying why you want to do it and what you want to accomplish. They want to play. Like for them, it's playing and it's really enjoying whatever they're doing in the moment. I think the spontaneous painter is a very in the moment person. And I think that that's a gift. Okay, so it's focus and solitude, creation. Okay, that's fair. So yeah, it sounds like that's where my happy, if I really want to be productive, if I really want to get in the zone, that's where my happy place is too. Sitting down alone, and if I'm in the room with David, I actually put on my noise blocking headphones and I put on music. So I can't see him or hear him because I'm sitting at place facing the wall and he's facing the other direction. So that's my solitude of not being solitary. Forge Fitness. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm really interested because I also like physical fitness. So yeah, I would be super interested to get an ARC preview copy, advanced reading copy, whatever. But yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, if you really just like working on minis and you're not that motivated by finishing, that's not necessarily a bad thing, Shadow Raven. I mean, unless you decide, unless it makes you unhappy, then maybe it is a thing to kind of figure out how you might life hack your way into that. That's the thing with writing too. So many writers will start a book or a project and then they'll kind of fall off of it a little ways or halfway through, maybe even near the end. And it's the thing for mini painters too. Like there are lots of projects that I haven't finished. So you're not alone. Unless you want to be. All right. So now I can take my pointy end, my this end up symbol, this one, the triangle with the line. So if we break it down, really the triangle is the main part, right? So we have to do a triangle and then we have to give it a stem. So it's a triangular lollipop. Or a spear with a very large tip. And then the two lines come after that. So all of these can be broken down into very simple shapes. So for this one, it was the lollipop with the stem. And then for this one, it's probably the inverted triangle. You can always give the triangle legs, right? For here, it's definitely the X. Once you have the X, then it's easy to draw a line and a dot. With this one, it's the circle. And then again, it will be the line, then add the larger dot and the curlicues. This one's the letter D, really. You just need to put a letter D and then adding a stem with a cross and feet is easy. So break down your freehand symbols into even if they're complicated, try to figure out the main shape. And that is true even if you're trying to like do an animal head. Where many animal heads will be, let me draw. Most animal heads are going to be like, if they're face on, they're going to be triangular. So you're going to do like a triangle. You're going to have the eyes, you have the forehead, maybe the ears. Then you got maybe the cheekbones. They're going to come out around the eyes. Then you come down, make the muzzle, make the nose. And then you start just fleshing it out, like making your ears a little bit better, like there. Maybe you decide that this is a wolf face, and so you fluff it out a little bit around rounding out the muzzle. And so then you can take that triangle and just turn it into a wolf face. This is a very bad wolf face, but you get the idea. So an animal face head on usually will be a triangle. However, with a shorter muzzle, it'll be a circle, maybe with just a little bump at the bottom. Maybe an oval. But this is how I plan freehand, Rainbow. Their feet, Pendrake, their feet. A seraph is tiny. A foot is big. That's my thing, and I'm sticking to it. Oh, well, there you go. Thanks, Moonlight. Aw, that's sweet. Sweet. Yeah, so if you break down things, like, yeah, because you can see how the long muzzle here, like if I wanted to do a lion instead, I probably need to do this. And this is my open mouth with my teeth. There. So that's a roaring lion. So just with one act, just shortening this, truncating my triangle or making more of a circle, then I've got a lion instead of a wolf. Yeah, I mean, I did do like 2D art before I was a mini painter. So, but this whole breaking down shapes. I mean, you've all seen those draw cartoons things in like the paper or wherever, you know, where they break it down. They break it down into circles and triangles, and suddenly it's an animal or something. But this is kind of like that. But I mean, I think they skip a lot of steps. So, but this is in general, right? How you would do. I have an example. One second. Do I have him on my website? I don't think I do. One second. Let me see if I can find it. I think I was doing it around this time. Trying to find one of my dark sword pieces that I did. I think I'm getting close. If I can find it quick, then we're good. Man, so many pictures of traveling. Oh, okay, there we go. I'm close. It's my trip to Hawaii. Man, I've been doing this for so long, you guys. Oh, there we go. This guy. Lionhead. You can think of them as peanut shaped if you want to. I break it down to just really simple shapes though, like circles, triangles, and squares, and rectangles. So this guy, that's exactly how I did that lion face. You can see how it's mostly round, and actually a bear face would be very similar. And both of these are done that way. And then it's just breaking it up into like muscles or wrinkles or just bits of fur. And you're just trying to, you know, he's more like actually about that size. But yeah. So yeah, that was this guy who also has the best NMM I've probably ever done. Where he actually, you can see the light falling on this model. So this is all actually NMM, but it looks like it's metal, and I like it. I'm very happy with it. So yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much. Yeah, and there he is again. That dude. That dude. So yeah, that's when you, and he's a great model, by the way. This is a Dark Sword figure, Dark Sword miniature, like Human Fighter. This is a great model for practicing your NMM because he's got very simple plates, but some parts are more challenging. If you ever get a clumpy white or yellow, if it is ever actually clumpy rainbow, you've got a frozen paint, in my opinion. Unless it's like an old like vinyl base, like if it's an old Vallejo, for example, then you can get a chunky yellow because the resin's started to settle out if you haven't used it for a long time. But if you've got a relatively fresh paint and it is actually clumpy, like actually has clumps in it, that's a frozen paint. That's what happens to paint when it freezes. I would order a new bottle. No amount of shaking will ever get those clumpies to go away because the paint has essentially suffered an integral disruption of its chemical stick-to-itiveness. Essentially, it's been forced out of solution, and no simple shaker is going to get it back in. You need a high-powered, like, chemical mixer at that point, and you're looking at industrial equipment. So if it's truly clumpy, then that's a problem. And you're not going to get it back into solution. You may like very, very temporarily think you've gotten it back into solution. It may act like it, but it won't stay in solution. It'll separate out. So that's a sign that you have a frozen paint. Big sign. The only other thing that I've ever seen cause that cottage cheese kind of clumpiness is a chemical shift in pH, which wouldn't be the case in any paint you probably have because they're all pretty stable. Once you've mixed them and gotten them in bottles, the pH isn't going to change. It would have to be flawed from the get-go, and then it would be a bad batch. So let's do our little triangle symbol. Otherwise, many people like those mixers rainbow. Like if you're just looking where you don't want, where if you've got like hand arthritis or wrist arthritis or anything like that, hand or wrist pain or arm pain, and you're just looking to like not aggravate that, then the mixers are great. The vortex mixers and the other things. It's probably actually the less, you need to thin it less, Big Apple. Chalkiness is usually a result of over thinning. For example, if you look at my, hey, I'm going to call up Quindy's Superpower. If you go look at my thinning MSP paint video, which is free, a free class I did for ReaperCon like 2020, and it's online on the Reaper YouTube, you will see that I never, ever thin more than 1 drop of paint to 2.5 drops of water. So like 2 drops of paint to 5 drops of water. There's only a single paint that I ever thin that much, and that's pure white. If I want it to layer. If I want it to layer nicely, then that's what I need. But every other paint, if you are thinning more than like 1 to 2, you are thinning too much. And sometimes you may even want to thin a little less than that. Yeah, we haven't referenced that in a while, so I'm glad to reference that video because new people, if you haven't watched it, it is a free class. It is up for free forever on Reaper's YouTube from ReaperCon. So it isn't like a stream where we have a lot of back talk, chat talk. It's me teaching, like, on camera, period. It's like getting a Patreon lesson that's an hour and a half long. So it's all about thinning MSP and how much to thin it. But yeah, if you are thinning more than 1 to 2, you're thinning too much. And if you're seeing chalkiness, that's almost certainly the reason. So look at how much you're actually thinning. Now, with glazes, you thin more. But with glazes, that's different. You don't usually see chalkiness in a glaze. You're thinning it a lot. You're applying it very quickly in a very thin layer where it dries almost instantly. There's no time for it to get chalky. But yeah, I personally find that if I see chalkiness, it's over thinning. And keep in mind that even colors, especially colors like fair skin. Yeah, and the reason you can thin pure white that much, by the way, is that it's really, really highly pigmented. It's like super powered. But even things like fair skin, a lot less thinning than pure white. A lot less. Yeah, if your white is chunky, then that's a bad sign. All right, let's do this this next symbol. Sorry, we're going all over the board on tips today. Hopefully it's all valuable, though. And you guys gave me some valuable things to think about in my motivation stuff, so I'm going to totally put this up as a poll on my Patreon just for fun. Once I figure it out, once I break down what I've learned. Alrighty. But yeah, but I think you're absolutely right. I should write a book about the chemistry of paint. It would be very boring. And it would actually, I wouldn't need even a book, Moonlight. It's, I think I would be, well served with just a chapter in an overall painting book. I can usually teach a pretty decent class on paint chem in about an hour and a half. I mean, because there is some stuff also that's just not useful. I mean, it's interesting, but it's not useful. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yep. Hold on. There we are. All right. I just need to make another note for my little poll, my new system, my theory of motivation and mini pinning. I don't know. I mean, interesting isn't useful so much as it is to get people like fascinated by how awesome paint mixing is. Right. Yeah. I am also a learner. I'm very much into just learning new things, Moonlight. So I feel you there. Cool bits of information, even when not immediately useful, are still like really like make me happy. Right now I'm studying more about canine behavior, for example, and that's super interesting and fascinating too. Trying to get better at evaluating puppies at the temperament tests, and adult dogs also, because we do have an adult dog temperament test program too in my breed. And I'm a certified evaluator for that, but I feel like I could get better at it. I can always get better. So the first thing we want to do over here is the triangle, right? So we're going to do triangle with the stem, with the triangular lollipop. That's what we're doing. And if I wanted to make sure that the triangle lollipop was very similar to our little circle lollipop over here, I could kind of like judge how big this is and kind of put a dot and a dot to make it very similar, to make sure that it's more similar. But if you don't really care, and I don't really care right here, because she's lifting her arm, she's pulling the fabric up. If this is, you know, it's kind of in an arc. I don't feel like I need to be super precise here. I've got the floor of the triangle there. Now I can refine it. And that's another useful thing to figure out about yourself, right? As far as Moonlight brings up an excellent point is you know, what motivates you as far as, you know, knowledge can also be a motivator. Learning new things can be a motivator. You might be happiest in painting when you're learning new techniques or trying new colors or working, you know, trying a new subject matter. Like, that's definitely a thing for me. That's why I took the workshops that I did with Sergio and Kirill, is I wanted access to kind of a different suite of tools and a different way of thinking about the hobby. Learning how somebody else does it is always interesting. And some people like that, but some people are really motivated by it. Oh, I would not do Triad at all. No, actually, and this is where my paint chemistry knowledge trumps like what you might actually think, Pendrake. You actually wouldn't need to do it for at all for each triad. It would be actually kind of a waste of your time. You'd end up saying the same thing for a lot of time. You'd actually want to break it down by base or by shade. By shade would be better. Light colors, medium colors, dark colors. And then you'd probably want to switch it between dark opaque and dark translucent. That would be far more useful. And that's just me knowing how these paints are built. All the light colors, except for pure white, are going to act very similarly. All the yellow, the yellows are going to act very similarly. The whites are going to act very similarly. Yeah, Maze, I do play D&D, although I don't have a game right now. We ran a little bit of D&D in a fun little game over on my stream during the pandemic. We created a world together and did some role play. It was short, but it was fun. But yeah, I like D&D. I've been watching the cartoon of Critical Role. I started watching it with David a couple days ago. But yeah, it's far more useful to class paints in more in broader groupings than by triad. Because most light colored triads are going to act exactly the same. Because it's the presence of white and the way that impacts opacity that is the most important thing. Opacity is one of the things that really defines how to work with any given paint. They're the same thing, Maze. You don't get true transparency in paint, and that's because pigments are all have some level of opacity. So when I say a paint is more transparent, what I'm really saying is it's translucent. The only inks, like dyes, the original artist inks, which are more like lacquer-based, although nowadays they're more acrylic-based, but anyway, those tend to be really transparent, like, and you can tell when you look at them. But if anything has any degree of coverage, it is not transparent. It's translucent. No, I'm afraid that D12 is the expendable dice, Trashorama. When I have to throw a dice at somebody because they made a really, really bad pun and I want them to know it, I throw my D12 at them. Hey, bots. You'd have to become a sculptor, actually, bots. You'd want to probably work in ZBrush, so you'd want to get that program and start learning it. There are plenty of YouTube videos on how to do it. One of our on-staff sculptors at Reaper actually used to be my second in the paint department, and he taught himself ZBrush, and essentially now he's a staff sculptor working with Kevin, who's our senior staff sculptor. So you will want to essentially learn to sculpt, start doing stuff on your own. Maybe you can, if you really like the style of Reaper miniatures, that's key, because Ron is definitely looking for a certain style. So like if you're a huge Bobby Jackson fan or you're a big Julie Guthrie fan, then study their miniatures and maybe make some of your first projects duplicating sculpts that they've done. Because that proves that you can work from a concept art, even if the concept art is another figure. The other thing you will want to do is find a piece of artwork and create a miniature on it to show that you can work from concept art. Yeah, but what, I mean, it's kind of ability and really wanting to work with Reaper. Like if you really like our style, if you like our vibe, right? Because there are a lot of sculptors in the world who are very good, but they find that they would actually rather do their own products. They do their own Patreons, or they work for a different company whose style they like more. So I think kind of key to working for Reaper is really enjoying Reaper's style of miniature, really admiring the sculptors that work for Reaper, and wanting to, like, you know, to kind of work in that format, to enjoy working at 28, to being able to scale things well at 28mm scale and be able to execute in ZBrush. You bet. Yeah, I mean, that's how, like, Andy Pieper used to be just like a painter on our forums, and like he learned to sculpt in green, and then he learned to sculpt, you know, he's doing all sorts of stuff. So, but it's really key, like that. Like if you are a sculptor and you want to work for Reaper, like that's kind of your road. The next thing I would say is come to ReaperCon. You're going to want to meet Ron in person, show him your stuff, you know, if you have 3D prints of your stuff. Say you'd be interested in trying a project for Reaper and see if Ron has any slots open, or if he's looking for new sculptors for a particular type of mini. Because Ron is our art director, but he's an extremely busy person, and if you just throw him an email, it's hard. But if you come to ReaperCon, he's around. And that's a great time to, like, once you've got, you know, miniatures in hand, once you're a good sculptor, that's a great time to come to him and show him and say, hey, I really would like to do a model for Reaper. How do we make that happen? Is there a way to make that happen? Yeah. Ron is just slammed, guys. He does so much. He does so much. Well, it's okay. We all do this with email, right? You've got your priority email, the stuff you absolutely have to respond to. And then you've got a bunch of people who want you to buy something from them, right? So it's better. Like, if you want to go the email route, I think you can do it. But I think you need to then get your name out there as a sculptor and demonstrate you can do it. Like Christine Van Patten is another good one. She also was a painter who just turned sculptor, taught herself ZBrush, started doing amazing stuff. Like, she comes to ReaperCon all the time. Ron knew her. You know, she showed him her stuff. He got her doing stuff for us during Kickstarter and other things, you know. Like, she's Rainbow Sculptor is, you know, she's well known. Now she does a lot of stuff. So you always can do it. Yes, of course, the flashing light on the phone. Yep. Then you want to learn from Bob and Julie and Andy. Andy's doing both now, I think, but I mean, he learned to do the traditional green sculpting first. But a lot, I mean, it's a vanishing art because a lot of people are switching to digital, and a lot of companies are switching to digital. So yeah, I would say if you want to work in the industry these days, ZBrush is a good investment. You may want to work with their what's their opening level one? Is it Sculptress? They make a lower cost or free version for ZBrush for you to kind of get your foot in the door to decide if it's something you really want to do. Or you could just go whole hog if you've got the money, but it's an expensive license. So it's an expensive license because it's industry standard, of course. Alrighty, so now we need to do our 2 little lines. They don't have to be perfectly straight. Again, when it's this small, and especially when it's on a folded surface, it's going to disguise. The movement of the cloth is going to disguise your imperfections. So trying to do freehand on a cloak is a great way to start because the waves will just make you look like a genius even if you have faults. Oh, okay, so you've got ZBrush. So yeah, I would say just like putting out some models that are well done in kind of Reaper style. I mean, if you can get some of the, if you've got one of the Reaper art books from, of Izzy's art, Talon's art, from one of the Kickstarters, that's even better because then you could actually work from Reaper concept art and show Ron that you can execute on Reaper concept art, you know. But also show him that you can do something creative on your own, kind of in that Reaper, you know, that style. Pay attention to style, though. Ron is a definite, like, he looks for a certain style. Alrighty. So we've got our little symbol there. But yeah, if you're already into the digital stuff, I mean, and if you've sculpted figures, like I said, I just work on Reaper stuff. See if you can sculpt a couple of character concepts, maybe ones that you feel like Reaper could use. I mean, Bobby's got a pretty distinct style at this point. We can all pretty much spot a Bobby at this point. And part of the thing is also to like put in enough texture that's sculpted on so that people don't have to freehand everything, but don't put like too much texture. Like it's kind of a marriage. And you kind of learn as you go. Like sometimes Ron and Ed really want a lot of texture on a mini because it makes it very easy to just paint it with washes. Yeah. All right, so we started and we're getting these guys now. This one's a little thicker in line than this one, so I think I'm going to thicken the lines and just make them consistent. The thicker the lines on the symbols are, the easier it's going to be to do like an NMM effect, a non-metallic metal on them, because we'll have more room for that gold color to carry through. So we want to thicken up the lines a bit. Well, Izzy Collier is Talon, and that's, yeah, those are the art that we put out a couple of different Kickstarters with Talon art books. And that Izzy's style is what to Ron is the epitome of Reaper. Ron has a lot of artists that he likes, but as far as what he wants in miniatures art, Izzy is it. So if you can do a reinterpretation of a classic, another thing to do would be to find a Reaper sculpt that hasn't had a reinterpretation. And to reinterpret it in a more modern style. Like there's an old wizard that Julie did, who's like got a hood on and a cape, and he's holding his arms over his head, and he's got kind of a fire elemental forming there. And I always wanted a new one of those. Oh, we've been distracted all stream bots. We've been doing talk about what motivates people to paint, what type of motivating processes there are. Like some people want to finish things, and some people really enjoy the process more, and some people want to be really spontaneous in their process, and some people want to plan and are goal motivated. You know, we've been exploring that question. So answer that question for me. What kind of crafter are you? Do you need to have things laid out before you work on them, or are you most productive when you can be more spontaneous about stuff? Are you more productive working with people around you or alone? Yeah, it is the norm. That's how we get into good good discussions, though. And I really wanted to talk about, like, motivation in painting today. What really drives people to paint? What do you get out of it? I think it's a very fascinating discussion. So now we've thickened up all our lines over there. It looks more like this as far as thickness of lines. That's perfect. Right, but when are you most productive? Yeah, because that's what we're getting at. Because a lot of people are somewhere in the middle of that scale, right? But I've found value myself in figuring out where I am most productive and what is most motivating for me. Because yeah, I can churn out, like, I can do a lot of work at a paint club. But my real happy place, the time when I am happiest in my hobby, is actually alone with my headphones on, listening to music, painting at my desk alone. Or equivalent alone, like noise blockers and not paying attention to the other person in the room. Thanks, Incredimike. Yeah, we're doing some interesting colors on this mage. She's very blinged out on the front. I just have a few gemstones to finish up here. But I wanted to start the alchemical symbols, and we were talking a lot about freehand and how to plan it earlier. I even drew a little Lionhead. But yeah, so we're putting these symbols, these alchemical symbols on, or variations on them, on the back of our mage here. Hey, GW totally stole the Eldar runes, so. But, you know, she's kind of Eldar looking. We can deal with that. All right, now how do I want to organize these guys? Now, obviously, we've got some triangular ones and some circular ones, right? Or, sorry, rounded ones. So these are very similar if we look at them. We've got a circle with a stem and a D with a stem, so a half circle. So these feel very similar, and these feel very similar. So we probably want to alternate these suckers, right? And we also don't want to use our circles right under our other circles. So I'm not counting the moon as a circle here, really. I should, but I'm not, because it just makes things complicated. But I've got two circle runes here, and a pointy rune and a moon rune. So I probably need to change the moon rune a little bit to make it be something a little different. But anyway, so the circle runes should not go like right under the other circles, I think. I think that the circle runes are going to be this one and this one. And I think probably this one might be better under the moon. I'm going to have a pretty narrow space here, but I can tilt this and make it going up or down instead of out. Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed in the newer Eldar. I feel like they just took the old concept art and just like did a slightly newer version that's not as edgy as it could have been. Dark Eldar looks so much better. All right. So I want to round. I think this is a nice big area here, so I think I want to do this cool symbol. So let's start with that. Let's do our big D. And these are going to be a little bit bigger. Oh wow, we're already 11. Do I want to do this? Yeah, I was 5 minutes late. I can try to at least put my D in. So here, because this is a little bit more complicated, I feel like I want to define where my top, my bottom, and my right side are. Because I'm also enlarging my symbol a little bit. So I want a top and a bottom and a right side. Let's do that. So once I've got those 3 dots, then I can connect them. And I do a lot of connect the dots with more, yeah, I know. I love Tyranids, and they really need an update. So once I've got those dots, I can connect them. I use this a lot on more complicated shapes. We use this to do that tree on the back of Lizette, if you recall. I can show that in a second. And I'm just doing little bitty strokes to kind of like get the shape I want. But we use the connect the dots on a very, very asymmetrical, this tree here on the back of the set. I use the dots to really space out the branches and the roots, if you recall. So if you want, you can go back and watch the video of Lisette where I did that and did all the freehand on her. All right, so we've got our D. Here we go. I know I was really sad that there weren't more Tyranids painted at Golden Demon. All right, so now we've got that. Now we need to figure out if we're gonna push these a little bit further. Like, is our line coming down at that point? Or is it going to... No, I don't think so, though. I think the line might be a little bit sooner. Because I still need to, like, project the cross over here. So let's bring down the line slightly before. I'm going to make it at a slight angle. I'm going to try to duplicate the angle of the cloak. You are very late, Crows. You missed a really, really cool discussion about what motivates us to paint. And what do we get the most reward from with our painting. But you're not totally late, because you still have like 2 minutes to tell me how are you most productive as a painter? Like, what is the situation? And why? What is most rewarding? Why do you paint? What's the most rewarding thing you get from painting? There we go. Thanks, Quindy. Now I'm thickening my lines a little bit just because I want to have a more solid shape. And wherever my D might be a little lopsided, I can thicken up the lines a little bit as I'm going over them. So I can round out the shape a little better if it's not perfectly round. Remember, we also have this purple mixed up so that we can utilize it. All right, so we've got our D. Woohoo! But our D is only the first part of it. Next, our D needs feet. Not serifs. Feet. They're bigger than serifs. Originally, they were just serifs, but I decided to make them more feet. Or in this case, maybe arms. Arms and feet. Essentially, all the little flourishes that you then add to your simple shape make it look much more complicated and interesting. And my lines are wobbly, but I can always neaten them up. You enjoy completing it, whether or not it's up to the standard you started out. Excellent. Cool. That's accomplishment motivated. Super. That seems to be a very, I'm hearing that from a couple of people on this one. Interesting. Accomplishment motivated. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, we're trying to doing it just because I think that it's valuable for people to understand like what they most get out of the hobby, and maybe to, when you get that information, then you can work with it. Like maybe, you know, finishing things is most important, so I'm not going to be as hard on myself. Even if I feel like I haven't met my quality goal, as you say, you know, if you still get rewarded when you finish a piece, then you should, maybe you'll get more mileage out of giving yourself less grief about not painting better and just embracing what Rhonda was talking about, that improvement isn't mandatory and that you can just enjoy painting for painting. Essentially, everybody's got a little quirky in them. And if we all learn to work with our quirky instead of like not liking our quirky, I think we'd be happier people. Oh, so you're very strategic then. Very strategic. You've gamified it, Crows. That's really cool. Like, you strike me then as a person who really knows how to motivate them. So, like, you know what you get out of it, and you know how to gamify it to keep yourself doing it. That is a smart. You get the gold star. Bing! Crows gets the gold star. You have already like figured out what I am only now talking about, and you have been like, dude, I've been doing this for so long already, and I got it down. I have mapped myself. I have life hacked myself. My process. Hello, small endeavors. Only if you did your best. See now. Interesting, Carrie. So that's different then. Because that's not just necessarily accomplishment motivated. So maybe there's, that's also learning motivated maybe, or goal motivated. But it's a goal motivated like level of painting instead of goal motivated campaign or game. Level of painting. So that says to me that actually, like, your goal of painting to the standard you're aiming for is more important than the accomplishment. See, and now that's interesting. So maybe that argues that that if you slow down and take more time, maybe you'll be able to or maybe learn to isolate the particular techniques that you would like to get better at. Maybe things like that. Doing exercise minis. That's why I like to study this stuff. To give you guys more tools so that you can reach your goals, whatever those are. Like, if you can learn to work with your own level of quirk, life can get, life can get a little bit better. Alrighty, so we've got our D. Woo, our D. We have our D. Woohoo! We're getting some symbols on here, guys. Yeah, or I mean, or just paint slower but get them done better. Like, you know, you get less of them done for the game, but they look nice. I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing on our Bard Song minis. I did set up our bad guys to be kind of quick paint, and I'm not going to judge myself on their quick paintness. But the characters, I actually made myself slow down. I was going to rush through my turtle, and then I made myself slow down and paint turtle better. And I got more out of it, and I liked the result better in that, even though it means I only painted one character instead of two. So I think it's just kind of like, it's a balancing act, figuring out like what makes you happy. And what's more important to you also, is it you being happy or you being like getting the gratification from the other players who are like, oh, you painted the models awesome, and they don't care that it's done a little less good than you would like it, right? So it depends. Like, some people really, really like the outside validation, and it motivates them. So if you're motivated by your fellow players, like, telling you, oh, thank you so much for painting all these minis, they look great, even if you feel you should have done better, like, then it's like, which one is stronger, right? Which one is stronger? And let yourself enjoy the accolades a little bit more, or maybe take a little slower time and they just don't get them as fast. Oh, well, if you got those lazy friends who complain, then they can just, you know, yeah, they're lucky you're not the DM. Yeah, those kind of people make me kind of raise my eyebrow. Like, I always wonder if they're really, really that socially obtuse, or if they're trying to manipulate me into painting more. Like, I went through that when I was in college. And there was one friend used very loosely, who did actually use that to manipulate me into painting more. For him and for the game. So, yeah, watch out for that. Watch out for that. Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, I'm waiting on my Signum minis, Karanico. We're waiting. David was so excited yesterday because we got a mystery box, and he hoped it was those, but it wasn't those yet. He has so many new projects. Oh, guys, we got our Journeyman box, too, so we have a bunch of Wolfen. I've got extra Wolfen. Now, with more Wolfen. All right, I think we're good. Spectrum Arts are... Oh. Spark Trouble? That's good. That's good. Yeah, ba to them. Ba to them. Karniko, I'm with you. So, all right, guys, what we did today, wow, we talked about a lot of really useful things. We talked about different motivations for mini painting and figuring out what you get the most out of, and really breaking it down so that you can kind of encourage yourself to get more out of your hobby, of the happy things that you get out of your hobby. And we did some notes on freehand. We picked out all the symbols we're going to be putting on the back of her. And I'm pretty happy with those. I'm going to stick this sticky note to the back of my existing card for her colors. And that way I won't lose it. So we'll have it next time. So we're going to continue to map in these. We talked a lot about mapping freehand. We had a pup date with a cute video of puppies eating venison. It was adorable. And yeah, that's what we did today. I had fun today, guys. Did you have fun today? It's a good day. I think it's a good day. Yeah, no problem, Rainbow. No problem. You know, we all have on days and off days. I feel like today is a pretty good day. I try to be good. I try to be good no matter what day I'm on, but you know, I feel like today is exceptionally good. So thank you. Oh, not sure if Crow's Nest is on or not. Okay, well, fingers crossed for the crow. Maybe the crow has flown the coop briefly. I hope you guys... Oh, hey, tomorrow. Wait. Tomorrow? We're getting closer and closer. I think I'm going to streak his mane tomorrow. I think we'll work on finishing up the facial hair and streaking his mane. I want to take a little break from NMM because we did a lot of it. So we'll work on that. We'll give him his white stripes in his mane and maybe a white stripe in his beard. I think that'd be fun. Maybe do some leather, and then the only things we're going to have left after we do that, maybe I'll highlight the skin one more time too. But the only thing we're going to have left after that is finishing up like the bronze NMM. So yes, and some of the silver. So we're gonna do Centaur tomorrow. The small endeavors. You want to see all of it? Yeah. So this is her, and this is, if you don't know what the model is, it is Alaedril. She is a Bones USA model, so she has really, really nice details. But yeah. Yeah, that's the problem with painting on the back of something, is you don't always see the front. But there you go, small endeavors. And yeah, we've been painting this. You can, all the time, anytime you see a mini on this show, we will have painted the whole mini on the show for the most part. So you can go and look at Reaper's YouTube and see past episodes. Like if you want to know how we did all the gold on the front, you could go to the episode where we talk about that. Sure, no problem. Yeah, we do rotation. We've got a 6 model rotation. We're actually, many of our models are getting close to done recently. So we're going to be starting some new minis, which is always exciting. It seems like they always get done at the same rate, no matter how I try to break it up. But yes, thank you everybody for tuning in. This was a long stream today, but that's okay. That's all right. It's fun. It was a fun stream. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow.